Hello, everyone. My name is Jena. I had a grandmother who I loved most, but now I've lost everything. My family has 4 people: grandmother, dad, mom, and me. My family was very poor. The 4 people in my family lived in a very small house, but on the contrary, our family was very happy and warm. My parents and grandmother grew flowers and fruit trees together so that we can eat and sell to everyone living around our family. We sold these and earned the amount of money which we earned after the harvest seasons had been increased. Our family made a small deduction and continued to buy land and seedlings to expand the family garden. They said that my family had a good income and had been becoming wealth. This news came fastly to my parents' friends, and on a fine day our parents' friends came to our house. Those are all rich friends. They happily entered our little house to ask my parents if they wanted to do business with them. After they left my family, my parents had discussed it for a long time in the room. My parents happily thought that after doing business, they would earn a lot of money. My parents dreamed to become rich and have a lot of money quickly. So in the end, my parents let me live with my grandmother and brought the money which they had to save for many years to go to business with friends. My grandmother and I were very sad when my parents left home and went to work with their friends, and my grandmother and I shed tears when they saw each other holding hands, so my parents left. As for my parents, they were engrossed in getting rich and rarely went home. When my parents came home, they all brought me nice and expensive clothes, but I didn't like those. I just put it in the closet and didn't wear it once. My parents had been coming back to visit my grandmother and me more. Each time they returned, they talked to her for a long time in the room. Afterward, they quickly took some of their belongings and left. My grandmother hugged me tightly and looked at my parents with a worried and sad face. I was curious about what they said to my grandmother, but I did not dare to ask my parents what they said to her. A few months later, my parents returned to the home as usual. They talked to me and my grandmother. This time they wanted to take me along. I was stunned and looked up at my parents and grandmother. My grandmother just hugged me and said that she didn't want me to go with my parents, but my parents were not convinced because she said she did not want me to go with her, and I cried. They tried to comfort me and show their love to me. I just went with them, but in my mind, I just remembered my grandmother's image. I told myself I would visit my grandmother more. My father took me to work at the company. The company is one of his friends. It turned out my parents to take money from their family's business to trade and were deceived by their friends. He took my parents' money and fled. That reasoned why they didn't want to go back to our family's old home. I understood why they came home and talked to my grandmother about the reason. They just returned to take away the money which she and I earned from planting trees and selling fruit after the days they left. Now I become an employee of my father's friend's company. He asked me to wear sexy clothes to welcome his business partners because he wanted to persuade them to sign a contract with him. My salary had depended on those contracts also. They were very strange. They also looked at me with evil eyes and smiles. I met such guests. I will have no way to persuade them to sign a contract if I don't perform the dirty work requested. He wanted me to be his mistress, but the real story, I couldn't do it. And then I was scolded by the director, my father's friend. He said I was just a useless person, unable to do anything and help for him. I missed my grandmother, and I wanted to go back to my home. But my father's friend always gave me lots of tasks. I talked to my parents, and my parents yelled at the phone with me. They asked me to stay there and work harder to earn money for them. They wanted quickly to be rich. I gave up the idea of calling my parents and thought about how to return home to visit my grandmother. My mind came up with a new thought. I switched to eating fast food instead of my main meal and worked more at night. This made my body tired and exhausted. I went to the hospital to check and ask for a doctor's diagnosis of my medical condition. After I submitted the hospital's medical certificate to my director, he agreed to give me a week off from work. He looked at me as if I tried to find evidence of a lie. In the end, I was allowed to go on vacation and went home to visit my grandmother, as I expected. Our house is still the same. She cooked a lot of delicious food for me. We planted trees happily as before. After my break week, when I returned and continued my assignments, my phone lit up to display my father's call. The phone rang for a long time and my fingers pressed the call button. This time my mother was talking to me on the other end. She told me a secret about my grandmother, that she could not live any longer. They told me to work harder, earn enough money so they could get the money which they requested, and they would agree I could go home to meet her. I was so scared, and I dropped the phone on the floor, and I didn't know when it fell. If people ask who I love most, my grandmother's image will always come to mind. I remember the time she hugged me and comforted me when I was crying. I reviewed the photo of our family and I sobbed. Since when everything had been changed. The image is still my grandmother's gentle smile, but my parents' smiles are different. Now they are only happy and able to smile if one day they earn a lot of money and become rich. I became hard at work, and I also ate better than before. She would be happier to see me so healthy. I met many genteel guests, and from there my work went smoothly. I got more commissions for every contract signed. I had prepared well all things and saved a lot of money. I transferred my savings to my mother. She smiled and received a large amount of money, but soon she was unhappy, and she wanted me to earn a larger amount. I sadly returned. I desperately tried to work harder to make money quickly. I also sell expensive clothes that my parents previously bought for me, but I didn't wear them in the closet just to make money. I asked myself if I was important to my parents, or if money was more important to them. I just wanted to be with my grandmother when she needed me the most, and my grandmother was looking forward to my return. I made enough money that my mother requested that I immediately transfer the money to her, but soon her words made me fall back. She said that she was going to sell the land where my grandmother was living. After my grandmother passed away, the money from selling the land would make our family rich, so my mother no longer needed me to earn money. Both heartbreaking and indignant, I stopped believing what I was hearing. After all, was this a dream too realistic or not? I remembered the past of the family of 4 and how happy we were. The image of a gentle grandmother reappeared in me. When my grandmother passed away, my parents even scolded me on the phone, not allowing me to return to my house and attend my grandmother's funeral. I sat in the room helpless and choked at our photos and cried a lot. No, it could not be like this. I thought about my grandmother's important contract and funeral. Between an irresponsible person at work and someone who has no feelings for my grandmother when not attending her funeral. Without hesitation, I resolved to return to my grandmother's funeral. I also wrote a letter of resignation from this job because it no longer makes sense to me. My parents couldn't stop me from wanting to go home right now. I went back to my room and looked for everything, but fortunately, I found some money. That's the last amount I had. I used it to buy train tickets and go home. From now on, I won't be able to see my grandmother anymore. Looking at her picture, it is still that smile, and I cry. My hands covered my face and sobbed. Tears streamed down my fingers and rolled down every drop, wetting my entire clothes. My parents saw me coming in and startled, but in less than a few seconds, the 2 people behind me started sobbing. Is it just tears filled with fake or not? I hate my parents. They are just lovers of money and greed. Later, they can do whatever they want to no longer suit me. I took out my phone SIM and threw it away. I have a part-time job at a fast food restaurant. Although this job will not make much money, I will live comfortably and happily as my grandmother always taught me. Thank you for listening to my story. You can comment below the video to say I will read it all.